All right, today we have a very special guest, Nate Fish. Nate is the CEO of Israel Baseball Americas and the current manager of the Israel national baseball team. He's been a key figure in the growth of the Israel baseball for over a decade, wearing many hats as a manager, coach, and as a player, coach, and executive. From the coaching in the Cape Cod League to coaching in the minors with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and also coaching for the Savannah Bananas, who are known for their fun approach to the game of baseball. And not only is Nate big into baseball, but he's also a published author and artist. And he's also a true leader in the baseball community. So without further ado, I give you Nate Fish.
What's up, guys? All right, little golf clap. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for being here. This is an honor. I'm geeking out right now. I'm nerding out. I have so many questions for you. I think, my first question for you is just, how did this journey start in terms of just, being the manager for Team Israel Baseball, or just how did all this come to be? Because,
Yeah,
the Team Israel Baseball is evolving right before our eyes.
yeah, it's a good question. So I played college baseball at the University of Cincinnati. Didn't get drafted, and kind of like what happens to everyone when their career ends, whether it's after high school or college or pro ball or whatever, kind of get cast out into the world. Started coaching. I moved to New York City, started coaching baseball at a small indoor facility with a lot of other, ex-college and minor league guys who were in the same position as me. Career just ended, not sure what to do, start coaching baseball. I was very, very lucky that in that period, I read an article in the New York Times that said they're starting a professional baseball league in Israel. This was 2007. It was a long time ago. So timing for me was perfect. I was looking for an opportunity like that, chance to play professional baseball, international professional baseball. So I went to Israel and played for the Tel Aviv Lightning in the one and only year of the Israel Baseball League, the only professional baseball league ever in the Middle East. The league was like an abject disaster, right? The founder of the league went into horrible debt because of his financial obligations. There was no second season. We were over there running out of wood. Uniforms were, not what we expected. The housing was not what we expected, but we sort of made it through the season. At the end of the season, we're left with this feeling of like, that was kind of cool, but like not exactly what we were expecting. And the whole thing failed. But in a sense, it set this whole chain of events into motion for me personally and many of the other guys that are still involved in Israel baseball. Dan Rutenberg, who's on the board of directors for Israel baseball now, was in that league. Eric Holtz, who managed the team at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, was in that league also. So for all three of us, we've now been involved for over 15 years. So the league was a failure, but it was a success in that it introduced us to Israel baseball and all of the people in the baseball community over there. Very, very soon after that league, I started traveling back and forth to help coach the national team, eventually made Aliyah to play for the national team and work as the executive director for Israel baseball in Israel for 3 years. And it's been sort of a long and winding journey since 2007. But that's really where it all started, was with the Israel Baseball League.
Going back to you playing at the University of Cincinnati, do you play with Kevin Youkilis? Was he
Yeah.
on your college team?
Yeah, we were there together for 3 years. He was 1 year older than me. So very, very close and, teammates for 3 years, and good friends. First day at practice, my freshman year, we were hitting partners and we were in the cage talking, and it came up somehow that we were both Jewish. We were both pumped because usually neither of us had ever really been on too many other teams with other Jewish players, but we sort of hit it off right away.
Yeah, it's such a great community this in terms of, the amount of Jewish baseball players right now that we got, current, former. We obviously got the World Baseball Classic coming up, seeing teams load up, pretty heavy right now between the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. I think the United States probably has a bad taste in their mouth as to how the last one did. What are your expectations right now in terms of, competing and giving us the best shot in terms of going as far as we can in the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, so in 2017, just to kind of wind the clock back a little bit, the first time we were invited to qualify for the World Baseball Classic was 2012. So 5 years after that pro league in Israel. We had a good team. Brad Osmus managed the team. Gabe Kapler was on the coaching staff. Sean Green was the DH and hitting coach. Really good leadership. Good on paper. We were the best team
Mhm.
in the tournament, but we lost to Spain in the finals. We didn't qualify for the 2013 World Baseball Classic. And we were like, oh man, like it's over. Like we're never getting invited back to this tournament, same thing. We were like, it felt like it was sort of the end of the road. We were invited back in 2016 to try to qualify for the 2017 World Baseball Classic, won the qualifier, and then went on a crazy run in 2017, won 4 games in a row, won $1 million in prize money, and sort of popped onto a lot of people's radar at that point. I think we were back again in that year. We were in Asia. So first round was in Korea. We won the first round, went to Japan in the Tokyo Dome for the second round. Super cool experience. In 2023, we were in Miami, and the truth is that bracket is just brutal. We're back there again next year. So it was the the teams you were just mentioning, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and us. Five teams in the group. We were able to beat Nicaragua. Garrett Stubbs had a big game-winning hit for us that made us qualify automatically. So Nicaragua got bounced back into the qualifiers. They won it again, but we automatically qualified for the 2026 WBC. So we'll be back in Miami with some of the same teams. Puerto Rico's not there because they're hosting, but Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, the Netherlands, who are historically very, very good, and either Nicaragua or Colombia as the qualifying team, and us. So that's the group that we're going to be in. We're going to be better than we've ever been before. So we're in a very, very challenging group, but we're also getting better every time. Our player pool and our extended roster is really good. We just announced today that Ian Kinsler is going to manage the team, which is awesome. Kins is amazing. He could be a big league manager, I think, if he wanted to. Right now, works as a special assistant with the Rangers. So our expectation is to just be as good as possible, prepare as well as we can, and like hope we go out. It really comes down to the players just balling out, getting some good pitching performances and hitting a little bit and like playing defense. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's a short tournament, hard to control the outcomes, but the expectation is just put the best guys out there and give them the tools that they need to just feel good and ball out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, just a follow-up question to that, since you were both a player and a coach, can you take us through how you would approach the group that you're in as a player from a player's perspective and then a coach's perspective?
Yeah. You mean for guys that are going to be on the World Baseball Classic team?
Yeah, so, just guys who are coming to the BBC, you have that really tough group ahead of you. How do you come at that from a player's perspective? How do you come at that from a coach's perspective as
Yeah,
well?
I mean, it's a lot different. So I think for the players, the first thing you got to do is get them to actually commit to playing in the tournament. In the past, we've had a little bit of a mixed bag of like, this guy wants to do it, this guy doesn't, whatever. It's a contract year, he's hurt, or he doesn't want to fly to Asia to like turn his clock upside down in the middle of spring training. So from a player's perspective, just committing to the tournament, it really helps to know that you have like really good coaches around you that are going to both protect you and also be there for you like forever. One thing that's happened with the team is we have pretty good chemistry. I think most national teams do, but these are guys that you're going to know for like forever. It's a little different than playing with your, regular club in that way. So I think knowing that they're around guys that really get it and that they're gonna be able to bond with is a big selling point. And just getting them to commit. And after that, they just have to like believe we're gonna win. From the coach's perspective, we're gonna like have all our, advanced scouting reports and meetings and talk, that we can use this guy with this matchup. They don't even really need to worry about that stuff. Like from the coach's perspective, we'll prepare as well as we can and try to like just put the best guys on the field and get the right matchups. From their perspective, they just have to believe they're going to actually win the game. I mean, when you look across and you're like, those rosters for like the Dominican team and Venezuela, it's crazy. They're like big league all-star teams. So it's a little bit hard to believe that you're actually going to win the game. But if we can help convince them that we have a chance and, keep it close for a while, it can happen. And anything can happen in a short series.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the things I love about baseball is like can't really predict it. We're not really seeing teams repeat. Obviously, the Dodgers are the Dodgers this year,
Yeah.
but you never know. Any team really has a chance. And that's one of the
Yeah.
beautiful things about baseball. And speaking of like challenges outside of the field, so what kind of challenges does Team Israel deal with? I know that there's a lot of weight on the shoulders of the players, the management. How are you dealing with that? How are you dealing with like the pressures and not being welcomed in certain
Yeah.
aspects? And I heard a story about um Team Israel not being able to, wear the flag outside the stadium. I don't know if that was in 2023. I could have my years mixed up, but can you go into detail about that?
Yeah, we have some unique, characteristics and challenges that other teams don't have. I think for most of us, we're pretty used to it. We don't talk about it or think about it that much, but we always travel with security. We have security briefings before tournaments with Israeli intelligence agencies that then travel with us, and they kind of give you updates like you can do this, you can't do this. So there's like a little bit of variance in what sometimes is depending on different threats, like what's okay and what's not. Usually it's don't speak Hebrew, don't wear anything with an Israeli flag, including what you're talking about. When we went to the Olympics, we had our logos on the inside of our bags so we could travel with them. So like all of our team logos were inside of our bags, which is sort of weird, instead of on the outside because we couldn't travel with anything that had Israeli flags on it. Quite a bit of, specifically in the Olympic Village, we were like sort of isolated from everyone else. And then we had like these trackers we had to wear. You had to do like this retina scan to get in and out of this one floor where we were all isolated. So, that's a little bit different. Dogs usually board our team bus before the team does, just to check for anything might be on the bus. And then we get on the bus. So like it kind of feels like normal baseball, and it's just like in the routine. You're like, hey, like let the dogs get on the bus before we get on the bus, and we're pretty used to it. But it's also like no other team in the world has to do any of that stuff. So it is a unique sort of contour for us. But yeah, it's just kind of like built into the day, like the little security protocols. It's like you do that, then you get to the park and change and take BP, whatever. It just sort of feels normal.
It'll become
But
seamless.
even though
That's absolutely insane. And to think this was even before October 7th even happened, that, the Jewish, the Israel baseball team had to take all those precautions, which is just insane to think about. And that is normal is actually even more insane to think about. And, that's one of the biggest things about this podcast, that we hope that it brings attention to things like, Nate, that you just touched on. That the Israeli baseball team is used to having that many security protocols, security briefings. I mean, the fact that you have to get a laser test on your eyes to enter a floor. I mean, that is just the world we live in.
yeah.
Now, even more so than back then, I think. And, I guess my follow-up question to that is, have you ever experienced in college, high school, college, or even the professional level playing or coaching anti-Semitism? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, in Northeast Ohio. So like at my high school, there were quite a few Jewish kids. I went to Shaker Heights High School, just outside of Cleveland. So everyone's cool there. It was a very, very diverse community. But then when I would play summer ball, I would play travel baseball, and most of my teammates had sort of never met a Jewish person, so I wouldn't call it anti-Semitism as much as just sort of curiosity. And a lot of people just sort of carry some amount of bad ideas about Jews. I don't really think of anti-Semitism or racism in general as hatred necessarily, as much as sort of just bad ideas, just somewhat misled. So they might have questions for you about what you believe or what you do, and you're just like, dude, like basically just like everyone else. So there's some of that, just meeting in lots and lots of places in the world, just meeting people that do not have relationships with Jewish people and might have questions for you. Usually on the field, everyone's cool. We're just all ball players and competing. There are usually some protests outside of our games. When we're doing exhibition games before the Olympics, there are quite a few protests. Again, that was before October 7th also. So, I think just generally in life, many, many people carry at least some degree of sort of weird anti-Semitic beliefs. Not saying that they outright hate Jewish people or something, but they're just carrying some bad ideas with them. Specifically in baseball, once we get on the field, everything's, always fine. It's just sort of navigating the world and life in general as a Jewish person, where you occasionally have to answer some questions or come up against something. Yeah.
And I think that's also one of the nice, beautiful things about baseball is once you're on the field, no matter what you are, who you are, what you look like, you have to field the ground ball, you have to hit,
Yeah.
you have to get outs. And, that's also why baseball is so beautiful, because once you're on that field, it really is the same game for everybody.
We're all playing the same elements. Overall, I think my last question for you is just what is your end goal, or like what is the mission for Team Israel baseball down the line? Where do you want to see this in a decade, 2 decades from now?
Yeah, it's a good question. So historically, Israel baseball has been a small volunteer-based organization run from Israel. in the last 10 years, that organization has really outkicked our coverage. When I started playing for the national team, we were ranked 47th in the world. We're ranked 19th now. And so the last 10 years have been very, very productive, but it's not really sustainable if we keep it as a small volunteer organization in Israel. So last year, we launched Israel Baseball Americas, and we're in the process of transitioning from that volunteer sort of style organization to a fully professional baseball organization operating in the US. So, the next 10 years, if they're going to be as productive as the last 10 years, we had to sort of make that transition and mirror what professional baseball organizations have fully built out: scouting and player development departments. All the media and merchandise and business development is being run from the States now. So all of the support that we can provide from the North American market to baseball development in Israel and the national team, we've finally built out an organization to do that. I would love to see us crack the top 16 and start competing in the Premier 16. What was used to be the Premier 12 is now expanding to the Premier 16. That would be awesome. Stick in the WBC, so have a good performance there. Stick around again for the next cycle. So not be relegated back into the qualifiers ever again, hopefully. And then the big goal in the next couple of years is to qualify again for the 2028 LA Olympics. So 2025, this year, we'll be competing in the European Championships. 2026, the World Baseball Classic. 2027, the Olympic qualifiers. And then hopefully in 2028, the Los Angeles Olympics. So that's the next 4 or 5 years of national team competitions, and hopefully we're still just climbing the ladder there.
Absolutely. It sounds like you guys have a great plan. And just one more question for myself too, for kids, who are listening and out there and want to play for Israeli baseball. What advice do you have to them to be on the Israeli national team?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So one of the things that I'm really proud of with the new organization, when I was growing up, I was sort of a prime candidate for, an organization like this. It just didn't exist. There was no such thing as Israel baseball in the US market, at least. There was no World Baseball Classic. There was no organization to sort of tap into. So really excited that we can provide this for kids now. So in addition to the sort of high level competitive trajectory that we want to stay on, we're offering, a huge range of programming for kids to get involved between 6 and 18 years old, camps and clinics, travel teams, showcases for high school players. We do film screenings and speaking appearances in Jewish communities all over the country. So there's this huge range of ways for kids and even older people to get involved. And even if you're not going to, play in the World Baseball Classic, which very, very few people ever will, you can sort of tap in, have, positive experiences and identification with Israel baseball and athletics and this community that we've built over the last 10 plus years. So, there's kids that can get into this sort of funnel, which is the camps and the clinics, the showcases. The tip of the funnel eventually is the national team program. But even if they never play for the national team, they can, rock the gear, get the shirt, the hat, feel connected, and really be a part of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see what it becomes in, another 10 years, because progress that has been made. And, you've talked about the previous 10 years. I think the next 10 years are going to be even more, if I had to guess.
I hope. I mean, in some ways it's harder to stay good than it is to get good, but we're doing everything we can to try and keep just sort of clawing our way up the ranks of international baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the saying is, it's harder staying at the top than getting to the top.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions that I have for today. Nate, thank you so much. We have to do this again. Looking forward to checking in with you again down the line, maybe closer to the WBC. Thank you again. This was an honor.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Talk soon.
All right.
Bye.
That was Nate Fish.